Hi Year 11s, welcome to your final assignment for this semester, our third assignment type. It's a language study and we'll be looking at a translation. You'll be assessed on 6 different criteria ranging from communication all the way to application. We'll start the task in week 5 and it will be due in week 9 before the semester break. Let's have a quick read of the task sheet. It says translating between languages is your repertoire. It's something that multilingual people do as part of everyday life. Translations might be formal or informal, written or spoken. This task focuses on analysis of one translated text, looking at the original language and then the translated language. I've broken the task into 3 different parts. So you're going to choose one text in your first language that you know and then translate it into English. The first thing you need to do is explain the language aspects of the translation, focusing on vocabulary and grammar. You're then going to critique or analyse the translation, suggesting alternative interpretations and maybe discussing cultural meanings that are of significance. Finally, you're going to create an alternative translation or a better translation in English with a brief translator's statement explaining and justifying the changes to the original text. Your work must be submitted in a format that is written. However, it is up to you. You may like to do it as a report, an article, or a poster. To be successful, to get an A in this task, you need to write using sophisticated language in a clear and logical presentation, which means choose high quality words and have 0 errors in your grammar, sentence structure, or tense. You need to show your understanding of different language features such as structure, punctuation, and grammar. That means explaining how your language is constructed using technical terminology and explaining how English can be different to your language and what you needed to change and why. Then you need to analyse and evaluate the personal, social, or cultural perspectives of the original and new translation. That means, tell me the cultural relevance of your piece of text. Does it have special meaning in your culture? And can anyone understand the ideas or messages? The 4th thing I'm looking for is to analyse how different types of text are created for different purposes or different cultures. For example, tell me why different texts are made. What are some examples? Why is language sometimes different online than in books? The use of slang might be an option. You might talk about structure. Why is this different for different types of texts? And the 5th one is to use accurate references from your research to support your 3 main arguments. The word count is 800 words. That's the explanation of the translation, the critique, and the statement at the end of what you changed. Neither the text you choose nor the correct translation are counted in the word count. That actually looks like the original text, the translated text, and the new text. The words that are in red do count as your 800 because they're your ideas about what you've changed and why. So what is a text that you should translate? I suggest you choose a text that you know and copy it into Google Translate. It could be as simple as a short moment from a TV show, a TED Talk, a poem or a song. It might be a social media post on Facebook or Instagram. It could be a longer text such as a magazine or a news article. You don't have to use the whole thing. You might just use a small section. It might be a meeting or an event, a manual, a fact sheet, another translation, or a recipe. Those are just some examples. So how do I actually do this task? So I thought we might actually work through the example together, and I'm going to choose a poem to analyse. First, you need to find it on Google. So I've typed in A Christmas Carol in German, and then I'm going to highlight the text, everything that I want to keep that's in the German language, and I'm going to right click and copy. I'm going to paste that here. Whoops. I'm going to paste that here in the Word document that I have provided for you where it says original text. Once you've got that, you then need to focus on the translation. So to do that, you're going to copy that into German language or Chinese language and then translate it into English. And you highlight it all, no matter if it's correct or incorrect, and you copy that and you put it in the right-hand side, the translation side. And the final piece is a little bit harder. We're going to begin to analyze the translation in 3 main areas: explaining language, analyzing what's wrong, and then fixing it and telling me what you fixed. So here I've got an example. You have this document given to you about all the things you might like to talk about. Not all of them you'll need to talk about, but I suggest you use most. I have headings for you and subheadings and dot point ideas. And then I have provided an example for you. So in green, I've highlighted something that I'm going to change, and I've included boxes to write my ideas around it. Let's have a look at another example. This one is a Chinese poem. So we've got the original text, and then we've got the translate, and then we get into the language analysis, part 1. So she's going to explain the original language and the original text. So you can see she talks about the alphabet and how things are pronounced. She talks about the differences between English and Chinese. She says Chinese is more inclined to use specific things such as subject, time, location, but it has different nouns. She then talks about other differences between English and Chinese, and she uses words such as however and compared to suggest she is making a comparison between the 2 languages. She then talks about punctuation and compares punctuation between English and Chinese. She gives us an example of what might be wrong in the text and why. She then talks about the nonsensical words when Google Translate doesn't know what to do. She then gives us another example, this time of a proverb. She then talks about grammar rules. So the different rules that we use in sentences compared to English and Chinese. And she's using those comparative connections, such as while it is the other way around. Then she moves into part 2, critiquing the translation. So she says, what is wrong with the sentences? She uses the technical words such as rhetorical methods and what things she'll need to fix and why. She says Google Translate tried, but they didn't quite get the original meaning. So she needed to fix a little bit of it. Yep, so she talks still about the nonsensical translation and wrong translation. So she had to change the words and pick ones that fit better. And she also rewrote some of the sentences. Finally, she's given us our retranslated text. And she's pointed out all the things that she's going to change. And then she's fixed them and included that underneath as well. You might be looking for some other examples, and I've included quite a number for you. I have 4 at an A grade, a B grade, and a C grade. They're in all different languages, from Ethiopian, Arabic to Chinese and Japanese, so feel free to have a look at those. They're on OneNote. You're now ready to start your assignment, and to complete the assignment, you need to use the template on OneNote, which is located here. There's a timeline that we need to stick very closely to for this assignment, given that we had to extend our 3rd assignment. So today you need to watch this video, check, and have a look at least 2 examples so you know what you need to be doing. You then need to choose the text to translate and copy both into the template. I've then included what you should be doing for homework each night up until it's due in week 8. On Friday, we'll be looking at part 1 and so forth. When you think you're finished and you're ready to submit a draft or your final, please go through the checklist attached. It asks you to look at 3 main areas in your translation and address a few different criteria for each. If you have done all those things, and I've seen it, you're well and truly on your way to being successful in this task. Thanks for your attention, and I'll see you in class.